this in caves in Africa and Indonesia and all. You can see that normal rocks will not have this many breaks on the surface. This rock has been shaped like this for cutting and other purposes that these ancient humans used to use. Endurance running, okay? I said earlier that dogs can run for hours. There are some theories which say that even humans can do it. Early humans, not us. Why? If you look at our nearest relatives, okay, the body of skeleton of orangutan, gorilla, chimpanzee and human, you will see that the human legs are really long compared to those of the other animals. Much longer than the legs of any other ape. And we have lesser body hair, we sweat a lot. Why is sweating important? Because it helps to cool our body. No other ape in our nearest relative sweats as much as we do. Okay? We have arched feet, that means the base of the leg has an arch. All of this is suggestive that we could also run for at least hour. Now we can't do it, but at one time we were able to do all of these things. Next is adaptability, fire. Okay? In this cave in South Africa, this was a paper they published. This is the entrance of the cave. Okay? All the way inside, in one corner, they found evidence of wood ash. Okay? Ash means fire was started so many, thousands of millions of years ago. There was fire going on in that. Okay? And of course, communication, we don't know. It's still a question mark. Was that ancient animal? When did we really start talking to one another? That is a question we still don't know the answer to. But we know that the last 2 points actually point towards some form of intelligence. Okay? How did the brain evolve now? Okay? How did this intelligence actually happen? If you think of tool use. Okay? What is tool use? What is a tool? Any object that simplifies your work. Right? This is a very good example of a tool. I don't have to go there and point. I can stand here and point that way. It's a very sophisticated tool. But the simplest tools are actually those that even monkeys can use. Okay? This is a chimpanzee. You know what it's doing? It loves eating ants. One of chimpanzee's favorite food is ant. What it is doing is, it is using a stick. Okay? It will put the stick in its mouth so that the saliva sticks on the stick. Put it into that ant hill. Ants will stick to the saliva. It will take out and just eat all of them. That's a tool. A chimpanzee has enough sense to understand that saliva is sticky. I can use this stick, put it inside that ant hill, take out and use it for, eating things. But the difference between a chimpanzee and us is that as we started using tools, our brain size started increasing. We started getting better and better at making tools. Our food became better because we started cooking the food. And because of that, we started evolving language and communication. And why is that important? Because when all of this was happening, our DNA was also changing. Okay? Our DNA was changing. We were slowly moving away from being animals to, monkeys, more towards humans. Okay? Just how many biology students are there? Okay, some of you. Okay, so just for the others. Okay, DNA is made up of 4 bases. Okay, there's adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Okay. These bases repeat in different combinations. So if this is your structure, everybody has seen that. What you have is A, T, G, C, 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 like that. It will keep going. It's a different. That's essentially what DNA is. The sequence of these digits will tell us whether we are human or any other animal. Okay. This DNA is used to make, as a code to make proteins. Okay. Proteins are all over. Hair is a protein. Insulin is a protein. All of this. Why am I saying this? Because DNA changes from animal to animal. How does DNA change? Each time a cell divides, the cell has to make 2 copies of its DNA. One for this cell, the other one for the other cell. Sometimes when it copies, it makes a mistake. Okay? When enough number of these mistakes are made, you will have organisms changing. Okay? So that essentially happens. So how closely related are we to our nearest relatives on the DNA level? We are about 98.7% identical at the DNA level to a chimpanzee. Okay? About 98.4 to a gorilla, 97 to an orangutan, 93% to our regular monkeys that we see here. Any guesses? How similar are we to a dog? You saw the monkey numbers. Come on, dog. Guess anyone? 92, no, actually it's 84%. You're not that close to a dog. Mouse, 75, 80. Actually, we are more closer to a mouse than we are to a dog. It's about 85%. The highlight now, the last one. How close are we to banana? It's actually 50%. Where our DNA is 50% identical to that of a banana. Okay? So when I was saying this in some other institution, one student came and asked me, sir, does that mean 2 bananas make a human? I said, that doesn't work like that. Okay? The thing is, when the DNA started changing, okay, this is one gene. Okay, what is a gene? It's just one segment of the DNA. This is a gene called FOXP2. It's very important for us to, learn and understand and communicate. Okay, what I'm showing here is in this position. This is the full sequence. Okay, it's long and boring. This is how we write, these sequences in our lab. You can see that most in that FOXP2, everything is identical. So the top one is the human for reference. This is the protein sequence. What I've shown is chimpanzee, gorilla, orangutan, rhesus macaque and mouse. A dot means it's the same. It's the same as that. You can see that in these 2 positions, humans have a N at this position and an S at that position, but all other animals, they have a T. T in this position. It's called a threonine amino acid. This is asparagine. Okay? This change is very, very, very important. Why? Because this change allowed us to start our brains to become more complex. It's allowed us to start thinking. It allowed us to start doing more complicated things. Okay? So along with tool use, adaptability and intelligence, we also started teaching and learning. This one property sets us apart from any other animal. You can teach a dog to that, if I take a ball and throw it, if the dog brings it back, you'll give it food. You can teach it to that dog, but that dog will not teach that to any other, puppy. You have to teach the dog all over again, but that's not the case for humans. Humans teach whatever they learn to other humans. That's one important parameter that changed things for us. Okay? So now let's go back to the fossil thing. Okay, who was this? What was this animal? What was this ancestor that we keep talking about? In 1856, they discovered this skull in this place in Germany. Okay, it's called the Neander Valley. Okay, and they said, okay, you know what? This must be that ancestor, that missing animal from which human beings evolved. They said it's this. They found only the top of the skull. They said, okay, you know what? This is our ancestor, and because it was found in this place called the Neander Valley. Neander in German the word for valley is tall, so they called it Neanderthal. Okay, they said this is our ancestor. This must be the monkey from which we all evolved, and they gave it a scientific name called Homo neanderthalensis. Okay, few years later they found another skull in Java. Okay, which is there in this lake bed. And they said, you know what, this must be the ancestor of that, the Neanderthal. They said this must be the one that previously we discovered. It must be the ancestor of Neanderthal. And because it had a long femur and it was walking upright, they called it Homo erectus. Okay, they gave it a scientific name saying Homo erectus. But then very soon they found another one in Kenya, which is the skull thing I'm showing. They dated it to be even older. And they said, you know what, we'll call this one Homo habilis. The problem is, they kept finding more and more species of human beings. Okay, they found totally 11 of them. Now, this creates one major problem. What is the problem? If you want to say that this is the monkey, this monkey, we all evolved from this proconsul, we became human beings. Now, there are 10 steps in the middle. How do you arrange these different species of humans in that 10? What order did they come in that? How do you understand that? Okay. More importantly, where do these things fit in this tree? Where do the chimpanzees, gorillas, and those animals fit inside that tree? Okay. Now there are 2 ways to do it. Okay. How do you do it? One is you take the bone and you estimate its age. It's called carbon dating. Okay. The second one is you look at the DNA sequence of these. When they did the first thing, okay, this is the carbon dating data for those animals. Okay, this is today. Million years I've shown that. This is today. This is 0.5, half a million years, 1 million, 1.5, 2 and all that. This is that Lucy fossil that I showed you. It was somewhere between 3 and 3.5 million years ago. Okay. what was interesting was, they realized that if you look at all of these species and you put a green line, that green line there is 50,000 years ago. 50,000 years ago, you can see that the green line intersects Homo sapiens, that is our species. It intersects Neanderthalensis, it intersects Florensis. That means all of these species that are highlighted in green were alive 50,000 years ago. So, and if you take it back to 150,000 years ago, that number goes up to 7. What does that mean? That means all of these animals, lion, tiger, jaguar, leopards, all of these are members of the same genus. They are called Panthera. Like that, in our genus, there were 8 different species alive at the same time. That means at that time, there were people who looked like you, spoke like you, but they were not human beings. There was some other animal who looked very similar to you. Then the question comes, and they all had all of this, by the way. All of those animals could do all of these things, okay? Then why is it that only Homo sapiens is alive today, right? What is so special about us that out of 8 species of humans that were alive, 7 of them died and only one, us, Homo sapiens, is alive today, okay? Now, we have to look at DNA for the answer, because carbon dating told us when they were alive. And if you look at the DNA, there are only 3 species DNA that you can actually get. Us, Homo sapiens, you can get DNA from Neanderthal and another species called Denisova. Where do you find this? Homo sapien DNA, not us, our DNA you can obviously get. But these older Homo sapiens DNA you can get from Africa, you can get from India and other places also. You can get Neanderthal DNA from this place in Europe, and you can get Denisova DNA